Aloha and welcome back to Wanderous. I have this urge to speak a bit quieter because it's about 8:30 at night here. I wanted to record this earlier, but they are literally digging a hole through the side of the hill behind where I'm living, and it's just been a lot. And to be honest, I'm excited to be leaving the island of Flores soon. But that's not what the episode today is about. Today, we're going to talk about Istanbul and the whirlwind first full day I had there. I was in awe at the architecture. History is like a thick cloud of pudding there. You just can't go anywhere without running into everything that's ancient and mysterious. And we're going to talk about it today. I'm doing this in one take. It's just me just being raw and real with you. I hope you enjoy it. This one should be pretty special. Come along with me. So if you're coming right off of the last episode, you might want to listen to the one right before that, because the last episode was a bit of a break in my European explorations. And we're going to pick up where I left off last time. We're going to dive into Turkey, which is a magical, mysterious land. Now, I only had 10 days in the beautiful nation of Turkey. I had 10 days in this rich, really incredibly culturally rich city of Istanbul, formerly Constantinople, but not anymore. Now, I've been doing some really long episodes of this show lately, so don't expect this to be an hour-long extravaganza. I just did 2 really big episodes in a row, 2 weeks in a row, and I am balancing a lot of stuff, but I'm going to try to give you a good summary of what you should see in your first day in Istanbul. I'm going to retell a little bit about what I did in my first day in Istanbul and my frank impressions and my recommendations of kind of where you should walk around and what you should see. Sound good? Okay, I thought so. Now, first, we'll start with some practical advice. One of the first things you're going to want to do, of course, when you get into a country with different money than you have, you're going to want to get some cash, because a lot of places are only going to accept cash. And you want to be able to go to those places, okay? So I actually took a photo of my favorite ATM. They are not a sponsor, because you know some of these places they'll charge you like $5, €5 just to use the ATM, but they will tell you usually when you're doing the touch screen. So I really wanted to get a haircut at this point on my trip. It had been a while since I don't think I'd had a haircut on the trip up to this point. So I was kind of going around and I couldn't find an ATM that would actually work with my card. It was very weird. I was taking pictures of ATMs. I was like, I don't know what I should do. I have these very inscrutable pictures that don't really make sense. I think I ended up calling my bank, but sometimes you just get lucky. And the barber I went to, and there's a very funny before and after photo, because my hair was getting unwieldy, as the supporters will see. Supporters of this show, of course, get all the behind the scenes photos, and often they'll get video, as in was the case last week. You'll get behind the scenes video or HDR 4K video many months before it gets released anywhere else. And it's just a great way to support the show, so I can keep doing this, because believe it or not, this show takes quite a bit of time and energy every week. You know, I edit out. You don't even want to know. You don't want to know how I edit this show. I edit out because I hate them, which is on me entirely. But I fix a bunch of stuff in editing, and I add the music, and I have nice ending music, and it just takes time. It takes time to get a good product, and I'll even go in and I'll fix the equalizer and stuff. So it's not a automatic thing. This show takes work, and if you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/HelloCrusoe, the word hello, CRUSOE. You can cancel anytime. at $10 a month, you get tons of behind the scenes photos. You also get over 25 hours of audiobooks. I did a commentary edition of my tropical sci-fi novel, and I also have released all three, final versions of my true Hawaii adventure story, 10,000 Hours in Paradise, which has hundreds and hundreds of reviews on Amazon now. So yeah, check it out if you want to support the show. It really means a lot. And you can, of course, cancel anytime. You cancel after 1 month. You can listen to everything, you download everything, and just cancel after 1 month. But I think you're going to want to stay on because we're going on a real adventure with this show. Even though I sound a little tired right now, we are going on an adventure. It's been a big week, okay? It's been a big week, but I'm doing this show because I don't want to miss a week. I want to tell you the story of frickin' Istanbul. Should I mark this show as an explicit show? I keep going back and forth. Let me know in the comments if I should make it explicit. I don't drop the F-bombs or anything. But anyway, I was very lucky with this barber because I couldn't get any of the ATMs. There was like 3 around and something wasn't working. I ended up calling my bank and they didn't know that I think it was because they didn't know I was in Turkey. It was very silly. But I'm digging around and I found a €5 note. I found a single paper €5 and I said, "Do you think you can accept this?" And I converted it too. And the internet is your friend. This is why data is almost as important as water when you're traveling, because you need to know what's going on. You need to know the exchange rate. And I did the exchange rate at the time, and I mentioned this 2 episodes ago. At the time, €1 was about 20 lira. It was an exchange rate that I figured it out, and the guy was actually getting a pretty good deal if he wanted to accept euros. Now, technically, I was in Kadıköy, which is on the other side of the strait. I'm technically on the Asian side, the eastern side of Istanbul. Of course, as you know, Istanbul is an incredible, rich metropolitan city. It's like New York and Paris and London crashed together and had a baby. That's sort of how I describe it. So it would have been more poetic if he had been on the European side, but he wasn't, because even in places like, many places not so far from there, use euros as their currency, but not Turkey. Turkey has its own currency. They have the Turkish lira, and he graciously accepted my euro. He didn't have to, and he gave me a haircut, and it was like a huge weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. I kid you not. And of course, right after that, I realized that, I went back. That's right. So I'd walked through this wonderful place called Veganarssist. Veganarssist, Veganarssist, is a vegan restaurant, which is flippin' amazing, okay? So I was looking at my photos and I got confused. Why is there a picture of Veganarssist at 2:30 and my haircut is at 2:46? Sometimes things are just very strange and things don't make sense. And you're going through and you're trying to piece your life together and things just don't make sense. But around that time, I went back to Veganarssist and I had the most amazing olive, spicy, it was almost like a vegan BLT for like $3. And you get these little sides. You get peas. You get cauliflower. You get a coffee for the equivalent of €1. It's amazing. And it is if the currency is significantly weaker than the currency that you tend to have, then it's going to be pretty cheap for you. If you're a Turkish person, I don't know, then it probably won't be cheap for you. It'll just be average. But if you're coming from, Western Europe or America or even Japan, it's or Australia, all my wonderful listeners from down under or New Zealand, it's going to be a really good deal for you, and I really recommend it. And I just remember I went there like 5 times when I was in the city, and I just kind of rave about this place. Veganarssist, weird name, sounds dangerous, but is actually just a wonderful place. It has this lovely outdoor seating. I should include the photo of the outdoor seating. I'm going to include a photo of the outdoor seating for people. They have these colored lights under the overhang, and it really cool characters hanging out there too. But you just go in, you tell them what you want. This is one of the things that I will rave about periodically. It's just the food in Istanbul is nuts. The coffee is nuts. It's so good. It's so good. And of course, Istanbul coffees are sort of world famous anyway. I did take a pretty funny photo of the entire world reflecting the surface of my coffee. The world is the only thing in focus and the coffee's out of focus. I think it's kind of artistic, but whatever. The other thing that will strike you is just the city's relationship with water. Now, of course, I had to make it over to the other side. And I believe I took a ferry to get over there. I didn't take a picture of the ferry itself, but I took a ferry to get over to the other side. I crossed the strait, and I saw from the distance the Blue Mosque. The Blue Mosque. What is the Blue Mosque, you may be wondering? The Blue Mosque, which is technically the Sultan Ahmed Mosque, was constructed in the early 1600s. It's actually newer than Hagia Sophia, even though they look similar to me. I'm not a art historian. It is a functioning mosque, and it is one of the most incredible examples of Ottoman architecture. It has these blue domes. It has the whole thing. You can just Google it. The Blue Mosque is beautiful. The only bummer was, well, we'll get to that. There's a little bummer that was coming up about that. Okay, I just realized as I was reviewing these photos for the umpteenth time that all the photos taken with my iPhone have the wrong time zone, apparently. They're all like shifted, and I don't know which direction they're shifted from. There aren't that many. Most of these photos were taken with my Olympus TG6, so I'm going to just rely on that for the timestamps, and I'm going to try to reconstruct that day, because this day was almost 3 years ago now. But I'll do my best to kind of piece this together like a detective of my own life and recall based on the photos, because these are very vivid memories. But sometimes when you're recalling a specific day from 3 flipping years ago, you're probably not going to remember everything in perfect order, especially if you've done so much stuff since then. But I will say that after my beautiful lunch at Vegan Arcist, I had the fun task of figuring out the Istanbulkart. Not card, cart with a T. Don't ask me why. Turkish language is a mysterious and actually very pleasant language, if you ask me. But I had to activate it. I had to get a card, and I don't know what it was. I just wasn't very good at using Google Translate back then. I'm pretty sure I had data. Like I got a SIM card in the airport once I landed. But I had a heck of a time. There was a little like ticketing office near the water, and it was near this very pretty area, this whole like promenade along the water. And Google Maps showed me, you can go and you get the ticket here. Luckily, someone came and helped me with a pretty tricky touchscreen computer that you really had to know what you were doing, and you had to put in cash. That was the other reason I had to find an ATM. By the way, I used HalkBank. I believe it's HALK, HalkBank, but I thank goodness somebody helped me and was like, okay, this person doesn't speak Turkish, they're a foreigner. Because really, outside of Turkey, who's going to speak Turkish? Let's be real. Not that many people. So they helped me, and I gave them the cash and the thing, and we scanned the thing, and I got a card. And it wasn't expensive. I think the card was maybe about $1. So I charged it up. I put like $5 in there because the lira, as I said, it was pretty weak at this time. I have a pretty like completely inscrutable photo of the computer touchscreen, and I got my card, and it was great. And I went into the port, and Google Maps actually told me when to get on the ferry, and I got on the ferry, and it was this lovely, kind of slow, but just gentle ferry ride across the strait, and I saw the Blue Mosque, which was very stunning, even from a distance. Turned out it was going to be a little bit of a letdown. We'll get to that. Wonderful from the outside. And I just started like trying to just dissect the Turkish language. They had letters like English, but there were interesting things. There were capital I's that were dotted. And I learned that that was like the sound of an English I, and the I's that don't have a dot typically make an sound. Just so you know. I still don't know what the C with the tail sounds like. I don't know. But I just sort of started wandering. I started wandering around an area called Fethi, which means conqueror. The Fethi municipality of Istanbul is probably the most famous district in Istanbul. It's like 15 square kilometers, and it has the entire historical peninsula, and it was basically where old Constantinople was. It was like the center of action. And it has, it has the Blue Mosque, which is also called the Sultan Ahmet Mosque, and it has Hagia Sophia, which was the largest church, I believe, in the world. Let me double check that. Yeah, it was the largest cathedral for nearly 1,000 years until 1520, when the Seville Cathedral was completed way all over in Andalusia. But I was so stoked to see this area. It was just so rich with history. I was pleasantly surprised that they even had a electric train streetcar thing that went along the street. And my Istanbulkart would also work with that, although I felt like walking. Like I've said before, walking is usually the speed in which ideas occur to me, and I love to walk at my own pace in a new city. So on my way to some of these incredible mosques, I passed something called the Phottoman, I guess would be the pronunciation. It's Ottoman with PH in front of it, and it was this. I just think this is so funny. I might release this photo for free because it just cracks me up. It's this guy wearing a very luxurious Ottoman-style robe. I don't know the correct word for this. I'm so sorry. I just don't know. He's wearing the traditional headdressing, and it's all blue with yellow trimmings, and there's a woman in purple next to him, and everybody's just, it's hard as an American. It sounds terrible. It's hard not to be reminded of the movie Aladdin, because this was really a lot of people's, as a kid, their first exposure to this sort of style. But cosplay is real, and it is sanctioned in Istanbul. You can go and you can dress up. You can dress up for fun as in their traditional clothing, and you can get photos, and you can do that at Phottoman. And they're not a sponsor, and I think it's fantastic. They should be a sponsor. I would say a lot of great things about them, because this photo is amazing. I don't even know how to say it. It's just right there. It's right there on the street. People are just so flippin' casual. They're so casual about what's going on. And they look great. They actually look great. Although I sort of doubt that bright yellow and bright blue were super available back then. I imagine it was more earth tones back in the day. But I could be wrong. Anyway, I finally approach the mosque area, and I enter and I take off my shoes. You got to take off your shoes in the mosque. Everyone's welcome in the mosque. And I enter the Blue Mosque, and to my disappointment, the whole thing was kind of a mess on the inside. I realized that they were renovating it. So I've got some photos of the dome, which is quite beautiful, but it's obscured by this exoskeleton. They're just renovating and cleaning up a bunch of things. So it was a very awkward feeling in the Blue Mosque. It was, because it's still a functioning mosque, so they had to kind of work around people praying and for these periodic services. It was certainly a big feelings, a very consecrated, sweet sort of aura in the mosque, but not very photogenic. I'm sure by now it's in a better position. There's also some very interesting, and I don't know if this was part of the renovation, but there were cables strung between the minarets. Now, the minarets are those big towers. Usually there's 4. Sometimes there's only 2, but usually there's 4. The minarets are also, you can also see them on the Taj Mahal in India. And the minarets kind of guard they're kind of like the quadrants in each corner around the mosque. They're these tall towers. And they had these cables strung between the minarets. I didn't really know why. I got some photos of that I'm including too. But the great thing about this whole plaza area is you just turn, you leave the Blue Mosque, and the exact other end across this promenade is Hagia Sophia. Now, I didn't know if I would be allowed in the Hagia Sophia because they've got some pretty strict requirements for Hagia Sophia. They say you have to wear pants. I wasn't wearing pants that day. I was wearing shorts, and I thought that they would turn me away. So I was about to go and try my luck, and I was caught by the sight of this, one of my favorite photos. Supporters are going to like this, of the crescent moon rising to the side of the blue mosque. A really pretty cool little moment. So I'm kind of making my way through, and the signage is actually pretty good for Hagia Sophia. If you don't know, Hagia Sophia is incredible. Like I said, it was the largest cathedral in the world for nearly 1,000 years. It used to be called the Church of God's Holy Wisdom, some fun facts, until it was converted into a mosque after the fall of Constantinople in 1453. And they added the minarets for Hagia Sophia later. In fact, for most of the 20th century, it was just a museum. For almost 100 years, until 2020, it was just a museum. And then in 2020, it was redesignated as a mosque. Now, here's the funny thing. In 2024, now this is after I left, they converted the upper floor of Hagia Sophia into a museum. So that kind of gives me an excuse if I'm ever back in that part of the world. I'd love to check that out, because Hagia Sophia is just a massive building. It's 180 feet tall. It's 55 meters tall. It is one of the first buildings in the world to employ a pendentive dome. If you're not an architecture nerd, you probably don't know what this is, but it's basically the way to create a circular dome and supporting it with a square beneath the circle of the dome, essentially. And it was also the world's largest interior space. Can you imagine this? Like, they finished this church before the fall of Constantinople. Not only is this incredible, graceful building on the Fatih Peninsula, but it's also, oh, by the way, the interior is the largest interior in the world. Again, until 1520. So, and then it became a mosque, and they put these. I actually have a video that I will put in the show notes of the interior and the sort of the placards that they put on the inside that were holy names in Islam, because they converted it. It was a real big, let's say it was a real big, like, interior design change, to put it lightly. And I guess, yeah, I'll describe just going in. I mean, you go into this and you can tell just walking in the vibe of this place. This place is definitely over 1,000 years old. It feels like walking into a time capsule. It feels like you've just time traveled. And for fans of Indiana Jones, you might get some flashbacks to those movies, because it's very much that feeling of this is a totally different world you're walking into. There's sort of an entrance room that has some curved support beams. I don't know how to describe this right now. I don't have the right words to describe architecture right now. But you walk in, and it's not lit by oil lanterns anymore. It's all electric light, these huge chandeliers hanging above you. And you take off your shoes, and there are nooks. There are hundreds of nooks. I remember, I think it was like 7 high and just dozens wide. These little nooks, wooden nooks you put your shoes in. And you walk into this space, and it's incredible. It's just vast. It's vast and powerful. And I did take a video of this space and it shared a bit about what I learned after I left. So I'll put that's on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. It's one of these places where it's hard to describe if you're not actually looking at it. It's just you can tell a great amount of intentionality was put into it. A great amount of intentionality and a great amount of reverence was put into it. So I sat with my eyes closed. I sat in silence for some time. And I also, probably being a bit corny, but I was like, I should get a picture of myself sitting in Istanbul because I've been to a bunch of places and I didn't get pictures of myself in very many places. So supporters will also get a very somber picture of me under a, it's so interesting looking at these now. They also have an altar at the very front where the very intense prayer happens. And there, it's so detailed. There's like little hidden nooks and spaces and reserved times. And if you don't, like at the time, I had to ask, like, okay, is it okay to go here? Is it okay to go here? You want to be very respectful because this is a very holy place to the Muslim people. And it's a place where they pray to God and a place where they worship and a place that is a functioning mosque. So you want to go in and be sensitive. And even if you don't understand, then you can politely ask, but they also don't owe you an explanation. But people were pretty kind to me. I remember there was a Russian man when I was a bit further up, sort of sitting in silence, taking it in, and he asked me if I was from Russia. I'm just remembering this now because I guess I looked pale enough to be from Russia at the time. And I'd just gotten this very short haircut too, you may recall. And I said, no, I'm from America. He said, oh, it's good you made it here. I said something along those lines. And yeah, there's a real sense of mystery. It's difficult to describe, they have such artistic and detailed, stylized Arabic written along the walls and these strips. And frankly, a lot of the stuff I don't understand. I'm not a Muslim, so I'm not going to be your authority on that. I can be an authority on other things, but not on Hagia Sophia. I'm very grateful that they were pretty lenient because, technically you're supposed to have your knees covered. Maybe I just wasn't. Actually, it's pretty funny. Looking at the photos now, this is very terrible. I think I'm the only person who's wearing shorts in the entire building. So I guess they just felt like being lenient that day. I don't know. Part of why people tune in is to listen to me make mistakes too. So I felt a bit bad about that in retrospect. But people were very kind and nobody said anything about what I was wearing. Normal t-shirts were fine. They just wanted you to cover your knees. But I think that if it had been a big problem, the security guard at the entrance would have said something and they didn't say anything. And it's free to enter. So I would say if you're in Istanbul, you've got to go in the Hagia Sophia. I would recommend also the Blue Mosque. That whole area has especially in the warmer months, has a very lovely ambiance. And there are little shops and places to get food sort of in the middle, but it's really like a big park. It's really like a very chill park with benches. You can sit, you can eat your snacks and drink some water and prepare what you're going to do next. But yeah, that's basically my first full day in Istanbul. The first full day. I got a haircut. I got delicious food. I took the ferry. I figured out the Istanbulkart. And I visited 2 mosques. Hagia Sophia, way over the top, amazing. And next time, we're going to cover visiting the incredible Galata Tower and, believe it or not, being invited to Oktoberfest, which is a German celebration, an incredible German sort of ish celebration, Oktoberfest in Istanbul, and crossing paths with some very, very cool people that made me feel right at home. Oh, and let's not forget the sign in Istanbul that says no trumpets. That's one of my favorite videos that I shot while in Istanbul. You're going to want to tune in because it was pretty silly. And I finally started to feel at home and had some twists as well. So once again, thanks for tuning in to Wanderous. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate the show. If you didn't enjoy it, please forget the name of the show. Also, please remember to subscribe on Spotify, Wodify, and Notify. Actually, go to Yotify. That's going to be the new name for YouTube, Yotify. Everything has to be a fied now or grammed. What if they called it Spotogram? This is not on Instagram because it doesn't make sense as a podcast. It is on Apple Podcasts. It is on YouTube, and it's really easy to find. Wherever you listen to this, there should be a link to also subscribe, and it's a really good thing to do. It ensures that you get this totally raw, totally actually vaguely edited, but not as edited as you might think, content, and my real impression of these places and what you should do, what you should skip. And if you support the show, all the money will probably just go to caffeine at this point, because that's probably what I need. Just kidding. I'm too sensitive for caffeine. Anyway, the thing is, Istanbul was a stepping stone. The whole point of being in Istanbul was to get to Nepal. And I still managed to have such a fun time. I was really politely surprised. And the best stories about Istanbul are coming up soon. So you want to subscribe and make sure you don't forget that. I'm Andrew Crusoe. Thank you so much for listening to this little labor of love that I make every week. Aloha.